restored.
How much is it?
600,000.
Okay. And then we bond for that, presumably?
It's cash capital, sorry.
Okay. Questions, anyone? All right, easy enough.
Easy peasy.
Sounds good. All right, you're up.
Hi, councilors. Mary Robison, city engineer. First item I have is for an easement for National Grid for Nottingham High School. This is for a new transformer pad that they're installing as part of the renovation project for the JSCB. Not a big deal.
Yeah. Okay, is that, it's just upgrading the equipment that's existing at Nottingham? That's like what JSCB is doing?
Part of the new electrical service,
Okay.
new transformer.
Okay.
So it provides, we're able to provide, what's the objective? Is it's going to provide more energy, better energy, or?
Yeah, actually, I don't know. I think the transformer's pretty old and they're upgrading it and upsize. I'm not sure if they're upsizing it or not, but if it needed to
But
be
the old one
upsized.
needs
right.
to go,
It
and
was,
they
the
just
whole
need
thing
to-
was evaluated and
That's
this
what
was
needs to
determined to be the transformer needed for the school.
Okay.
Okay, the next one is Hiawatha Boulevard Bridge Sidewalk Improvement Program. Our project is a TIP project. We went out to bid. I have already come to you for the bonding and authorization, but unfortunately the bid prices came in $600,000 higher than our budget. So I'm coming to you for approval for issuance and sale of bonds and project authorization for the additional $600,000. Now, I do have a plan to get that funding for the $600,000, but I need this authorization for bonding so that I can award the contract, because the bidder only has to hold his price for 45 days. After 45 days, he can withdraw his bid if he wants. So we've found out that there is CITA lakefront area funding available, so we're going to go to CITA and ask them for approximately $521,000. So then that approval would be at the March 17th CITA board meeting. So then I would come back to you and advise you of that funding and revise this legislation. So then our local share would only be about $80,000.
Is the infrastructure change required anyway due to the age, or is it solely to expand the sidewalk width?
It's to expand the sidewalk so that we have a continuous multi-use trail.
So then what's the total, I guess, amount for the project? I know you said over by 600, but.
The total project cost is $3,072,000.
Was there a specific aspect of the scope that is attributable to why it came over? Do we know any of that?
No. I mean, our engineer did a cost estimate, and DOT has advised us that their prices have also come in high. We think it's because there's a lot of work out and everybody's bids are coming in high, unfortunately. And we went through the cost estimate, and certain items were definite. Maintenance, protection of traffic was higher. What's that? And the bridge, we are replacing the bridge, the expansion joints on the bridge. That item was higher. So if CITA funding doesn't come through, then I am going to go back to SMTC and ask that we move money from one of our other projects to this project, but that kind of creates a trickle effect in that the project that we take money from will then be short funds. But that's my plan B if plan A doesn't work.
Questions from anyone? I mean, that stinks, obviously, how expensive it is, but with all the investment going on the lakefront, I mean, I think you need to do it, because otherwise you're really kind of, it can be dangerous connecting the creek walk going on that area. So, I mean, I just think from a pedestrian standpoint, you got to do it. but
It's also an improvement to the roadway. We're repaving from Van Rensselaer to Solar Street. We're adding shared bike lanes. So it's not just the sidewalk work. That's the title of the project, but that does not really reflect. So it really is an improvement. It's going to improve the expansion. You know how when you go over the bridge, you hit a hump, and then you go over the other end, and you hit. So it'll improve that a little bit. So it's more than just a sidewalk expansion, but I think it's a good project.
okay, thanks.
My next two items actually, the first one is University Hill Bike Plan Implementation Project. We have finished the project, and DOT has advised us that we are now going to be able to receive Marchicelli funding for the construction and inspection phase of the project. So this is just an ordinance correcting our documentation that we received that 15% Marchicelli. So our local share is only 5%.
President Hudson's going to be very happy.
President Hudson's going to be very happy. So it's for the University Hill Bike Plan, and then the other item is the Teal Ave paving resurfacing project. Project's also done, but DOT has advised us that we are going to be able to get the 15% Marchicelli. So it adds paperwork, but we get money, so.
Always a win.
Any questions on that?
How much was the overall budget again, did you say, for the project?
For which University Hill total project was $2,483,000, and Teal Ave total project remains at $1,445,000.
That's great.
Total project cost does not change. Next item is another TIP project, the Connective Corridor project. University Ave between Waverly Ave and East Genesee Street was originally constructed with SU funds, so it was not a TIP project. There's some things that need to be corrected on University Ave, things that aren't holding up. So this money we received TIP money for, since it wasn't previously funded with TIP money, and we are putting the project out to bid, and we just need to amend CNS's agreement to add construction inspection services for $62,000, which results in a total fee not to exceed $159,000.
Okay, sounds good.
That project's also out to bid. The last piece of legislation is a one-on-one sanitary offset requirement that the Onondaga County requires, and this is for the BHG office building project at 300 Spencer Street. We're asking to accept the lining of 3 sewer manholes and the replacement of frames and covers by 300 Spencer Street LLC, and they're going to be installed at Gannett Drive and Kirkpatrick Street intersection. No cost to the city.
Is that LLC just like the entity that BHG is using to construct the building? Is that what it is?
Yeah, I guess that's the owner.
Questions? All right, sounds good.
And that's my legislation.
All right, Commissioner, you want to do snow fleet discussion?
Yeah.
Do you want to bring up?
So I would, before we get into that, I would like to introduce our new fleet manager, Richard DeVesti. If you could come up and say hi.
Nice spot.
Come on down.
Come on down. Up here or up here? You can
Either one, you can sit
Up here?
you can sit up here if you want. Okay.
You're the new fleet director. That's your spot now.
You're How are you?
Good. How are you?
I don't know if you met all the councilors.
Oh, I know Mike. Met a couple times.
Councilor Rudd, Councilor Carney, our Councilor Green, Councilor Driscoll.
How
you doing?
All right.
So, I mean, do you have something you want to talk about first?
No, I'm just going to answer whatever you need to.
Yeah, so I mean, I think obviously we unfortunately might get a few more storms this year.
Tonight being one of them.
Right. So I know our fleet's in bad shape, but I kind of want to just get a preview of what constituents can expect, what, where we are, where the fleet stands now, where our personnel is to be able to get rid of it, and just so walk me through that.
All right, so I just want to get out there that excuse me, that I didn't know until I got this job that there are rush routes that need to be done before my individual street. I was one of those residents that always says, hey, why is my road not plowed, and why is my mom's road not plowed, and stuff like that. So I wanted to make sure that all residents know that we have 16 rush routes, which includes hills and emergency routes, hospital routes, stuff like that. And usually we take care of those with 13 trucks. So 13 trucks usually take care of those 16 rush routes, right? In any given storm, like last storm, we started off with 17. We deployed 13 into the rush routes, obviously, and as the storm goes on, some break, some stay up, but we have to continue, once it's snowing, we have to continue to keep those hospital routes, those hills passable until we can actually get into the squares or your neighborhoods. And a lot of constituents, they're rightfully so mad that we don't get in there fast enough, but we also have to make sure that we continue to plow those rush routes first and keep those rush routes open. So I just wanted to make sure I got that out there before tonight's storm. And saying that we got, a limited amount of plows out tonight. We're down a bunch. Rich can contest to that. We have about 6 of them out to different vendors because we can't fix them in-house, all of them in-house. So I want to make sure that we get them out to different vendors so they can help us out. We got parts on order for some trucks that we're doing in-house, and we're working around the clock. So we're going to try to make sure that we can get 1 or 2 up today. That's what we said.
Yep.
To add to our existing fleet that we have to fight the storm, which is, what do we have up? 13 today. It's not good. It's not great. But we're plugging away to try to get as many as possible before we get, they're saying anything from a trace to 10 inches. So, that can blow either way, right? with this lake effect. So if we get a trace, we're happy, we're great. We don't really have to deploy that many trucks out on the road to salt. It kind of disappears on its own of the asphalt. But if we get 10, we're going to need the constituents to bear with us. We're going to get into the residential neighborhoods once it stops snowing, and once we can definitely say that the rush hour routes and the emergency routes are clear.
So in years past, it was my understanding that we had subbed out for other companies and groups to actually do plowing. Regular plows actually going out and doing a lot of the side streets after the fact because, we're not getting to it because obviously it is, I understand it's their emergency routes and, routes to the hospital that need to be cleared and taken care of so that, people can get to the hospital if they have to. But are we still doing that? Because I would assume that, where we're at with our fleet, that this would warrant more use of that. Do we still include that in the budget and have that set aside? And at what point do we determine that it is necessary to call up and have someone else come clear side streets? Because I know there's a little bit of an issue probably with, union things that they may not want.
I think that was a hurdle for the past administration when they did incorporate that into our budget. And I think the price of that said vendor, I think, went up. It doubled, and it just wasn't feasible for us to maintain that. But we do have our own set of smaller pickup plows that actually plow those dead ends. We can range from any given day, it's 7 to 15 of all hands on deck.
And when do we send those out?
Yeah, how does that work?
We send them out once it snows. Those are our crew leaders, supervisors. What do we have? About I think 7 on days and maybe like 5 on nights. So we send them out all the time, and they usually take care of you know, if it's snowing bad, they usually go and check out the hills to make sure if it's covering up, they get the truck back and say, hey, you know, you got to come back, and they do their dead end routes or side streets or things that we can't get a big plow down. So we usually do the pickups.
So those, correct me if I'm wrong, sound like the reverse, and that our bigger plows, we have enough people to man and drive them, but we don't necessarily all have the trucks that are working. But for the smaller pickup trucks, we have the trucks, but not everyone's on the right shift all the time to be able to utilize them. Is that
At the same time,
right?
we could utilize them all at the same time, long as it's long as they're up and running. Okay. So I mean, it's then you get into if it depends on the weather, right? I mean, if it's just snowing and it's heavy snow, we can just clear it and move it out the way. But when it gets to that slick stuff, we hate to plow those roads because it makes it even slicker on the roads if we don't have salters, and we don't have salters on our pickup. So.
Okay.
You want to go?
I don't want to keep, but you know.
No, keep it coming.
How expensive would it be to, you know, throw on the salt sprayers on pickup trucks?
I don't have the numbers for that, but I can definitely get in.
Yeah, I mean,
It's just
I would just be curious to see, because I understand, like on my street, I'm on a small one block unfinished street, and a lot of the time, you know, at the end, it's oftentimes we do get the smaller pickup trucks that'll come and go. You do our little couple blocks there in that area. So, and I have to imagine that they're really probably not dropping their plowing out on Grant or Teal or James. So,
can't do that.
you know, I would imagine that you probably don't need that much salt if you're going through and saying, okay, we're going to do these few blocks of, you know, either dead ends or small streets, that it might make sense to, you know, add salt to those trucks.
Yeah, you're right. And some of the trucks that we do have, I don't think we can equip that for a salter. It's got to be, I think it's like a F-250 that we need, and most of our trucks are not F-250s. They're the smaller ones. So,
Okay.
The routes we use, I've heard stories that some of them have been around for like since the 50s. Do we feel good about them? Are they optimized, like data driven, or is that something we should be looking at for future years?
I think we can definitely get better. I think that's something that we should probably look into in future years, but I think getting up to the right amount of trucks on the road would be, and then we can, you know, branch out and say, okay, we got the right trucks now, let's see if the right routes are issued. Just right now, we just can't keep up with the breakage. I mean, we're averaging 6 to 10 breaks every time we go into a storm, so it's tough to keep up.
Is there a specific part of the truck that tends to do it the most? How does that work?
I don't know if you got into that.
It has to do with age and the continuous abuse on the streets. I mean, it's rough for a truck to go up and down the street for 15 years if we have 2005s out there. 2008s, I mean, 8 to 10 years. It's a lot of wear and tear.
Yeah, so I give you for example, you know, we got a truck that's been 15 years old, right? You know, the mechanical hours, we had about over 4,000 mechanical hours on that. You know, total payouts is roughly $300,000 in that lifespan, 15 years. I mean, we're just throwing money just down the drain there, man. And for years and years and years, we haven't updated our fleet. We just putting Band-Aids on these trucks, trying to put them out there, and they just break.
How much would, you know, let's say that specific truck that we spent $300,000 in repairs, how much is that specific truck? Like if we were to buy a new one, what would that cost?
So off the top of my head, I think, what was the $250,000? $250.
Okay. And, you know, I know that we recently went out to try and acquire new trucks, and, you know, when do we expect to see?
August we get 5, in September we get 5.
Snowstorm in August. I know, yeah.
They take I think it's like a 6 to 9 month build out, right? I mean, it's a turnaround. So we're getting these pretty quick.
So with you know, we said that we've got, you know, we're repairing some ourselves. We've sent out like a half a dozen to vendors. Well, what's the turnaround on that? Like, how quickly do we expect to get it? It's subject
Depends
to
on
right?
what's broken. You know, some vendors for easy fixes, we can get them back.
But you got to pull it like right in your face.
sorry. We can, thank you. Sometimes it only takes a day or two, depending on how much is broken. But if the problem we have is there's a lot of corrosion underneath and there's wiring issues. And when the wires go bad, you got to trace them all, and it takes a couple of days for even the veterans to get through them. I mean, the wiring harnesses on these things are they could be a couple $1,000s, and if you're just tracing them, it's old technology, and they get abused.
So the new ones that we're buying, is that, I mean, are these things that with the new trucks, they've sort of addressed some of those issues, or it's just simply with the salt and wear and tear, we're going to, even with these new trucks that we're getting, are we going to see similar issues over time?
Well, we're starting to spray them underneath and give them coatings. We're going to do that once a year. The fire department started doing that with their engines, and they've got some materials. They've got some products that seem to be working really good, and we're going to do that with all the new plows. So we'll be spraying them every spring, which gets the stuff out of the cracks, and then we're going to undercoat them all. Okay. So we are trying a new approach with the new ones. We're not just going to let them rot.
So after the last storm, I had to push someone out on my street on like Sunday afternoon, right? So everyone on my street yells at me because they say, if you're the D.P.W. commissioner, how come you're, the committee chair, how come you can't get a plow on the street? But so what I explained to them is exactly the problem that we face, right? Which is the trucks, and that we only have so many trucks. But I guess going to Councilor Carney's point, next year we're going to have 10 new ones, and hopefully that's the right amount. But I would just say, like, now that we have 9 months to prepare for it, if we think that's not going to be enough, and if we think we're still not going to be able to get the smaller streets, let's plan for that now, and if we need a contract, we should be ready for that.
Well, so to answer your question, 10 trucks is definitely not enough for us to sustain where we need to be. We want to get to where we can have 25 to 30 trucks on the road. I mean, that doesn't have any of these issues. I mean, we have a few that are good, but then, like I said, I came back to council before and told you we had 11 that are 13 years and older. So it's like.
So how many of these, with the 10 new ones that we're getting, how many of those older ones are we planning on
retiring?
Yeah.
Right now, we retired 2 of those 11 that I spoke about. They were 20 years old. So we retired those. We're getting 2 in. We just got a brand new truck from last year's budget that came in, and we're getting another one coming in a few months. So that's going to replace the 2 that we just retired. So I'm hoping that we can keep a few around, but out of that 11, I would say maybe half probably go to retirement.
So then where would that leave us if everything's up and running and in perfect condition, which I know is, not realistic, but, if we have the 10 new ones and...
if everything was running, 32, 34.
And then the concern becomes that probably another 10 of them are going to probably go down, and we're going to have the same issues that we've had.
Well, it's going to get, it's not going to be great, but it's going to be better than this year. Those 10 plows are going to make it better.
You're going to have 10 that you can rely on, whereas,
Right.
No, yes. I appreciate that. I'm just trying to figure out where we're at, how far off we are from getting to.
Well, I appreciate you guys approving the 10 because I think it made us light years ahead of schedule. I mean, if we had gone the same route that we've been doing for the last 10 years, we would have been chasing the tail all over again.
Yeah, look, call me crazy. I'm of the mindset that D.P.W. with you, like the services that we're supposed to provide from a city standpoint, everything else that we do is lovely. We're supposed to pick up trash, clear the roads, make sure police and fire show up when you call them. So I'm comfortable with saying, what do we have to get get you where you need to be? Because I'd rather spend money on your department doing this than any other pet project that whether it's the administration or counselor has. This is what we all get phone calls about. Exactly. This is what people expect their tax dollars to go to. So look, I appreciate that it's been a long time since we bought new trucks, but the way plowing has, where we're at right now, it's not acceptable because, look, we all get the phone calls.
Of course. You
get phone calls all day and all night. We as counselors, I'm sure everyone within the administration has people in their neighborhood knocking on their door saying, what the hell, why is our street? We got to do better, and I'm comfortable saying we're going to spend money here rather than other places.
And not to put Rich on the spot, but I mean, that's in part why we brought Rich in, so that hopefully we don't, we don't get to this position again where we have to come for another 10 or 12 new trucks. I mean, hopefully, like Jeremy said, we really appreciate the council's support in purchasing those 10. I think that puts us in a good place, but if we can, retire some trucks, bring some new ones in at a smaller rate, that would be ideal, so that we're not having to come to the council for another 10 to 12 trucks.
And again, and I appreciate that. And yes, this is an absolutely necessary hire. We do need someone that's keeping an eye on this. And unfortunately, throw the previous administration under a bus. While they were great with making sure that we were, staying solvent fiscally and doing okay, we really neglected a lot of things. And trucks being, trucks and roads, probably two of those things. And that's something that we need to address and needs to be focused on.
And in addition to plows, Rich is looking at our sanitation trucks. I mean, our fleet across all departments is in need of some serious examination, and Rich will be working to put a process in place so that we're hopefully not here again.
And to Corey's point, just to put all the pressure on Rich, because that's a good idea, we should be seeing less trucks break down hopefully in the future, because if someone's focused on this, we can have a better system of monitoring how trucks are damaged and proactive maintenance and things like that hopefully should put us in a better position.
We actually have a really good computer. We have two really good computer systems, and when we get them to where we're watching everything, the vehicles will be coming through on a better, more regular basis, and we'll be able to get eyes on them and say, that we better do this before. Yeah, so PM's preventative maintenance is everything. That's how you keep the fleet up. So that's what I'm going to focus on, getting the computers up to date so we can continually watch the equipment so it doesn't age as fast as it is now.
Rich, welcome. I'm sure you have your charge from the mayor and from Jeremy and from Corey and everybody else, but one, we often get these inventory lists from departments when they're purchasing vehicles, and I would say from my perspective, fire has done probably the best job of articulating to us the status of their fleet. So for instance, they have this table that lists each vehicle, the year, the mileage, and the engine hours, and then they, based on their own expectations of the expected mileage or the expected hours available or whatever, they put in a years remaining and a target date for retirement, so that you can see when we should be planning to replace vehicles. I would really hope that becomes a standard practice citywide. I think that would be a really good...
It's the same computer system. We'll just start using it in all the departments.
Yeah. So I think as an early task, and then whenever things come to us for approval, when you share those inventory lists and have it aligned to the long-term plan, it would help. Even if you're out of whack, even if we know we have some that we should be replacing sooner, but they're not currently in the budget until later, I think it's better that we're aware of the lack of investment occurring when it's happening. Because I think for a lot of time, we just don't hear anything, or whoever is in the chairs of the council doesn't really hear anything, and they're not thinking, we're not sufficiently investing in the fleet. Whereas I think this type of table or presentation really communicates this is you're digging a hole. So
the current computer system that we're using for the maintenance gives us an aging ability, and that's what they're using, and they're showing me how to use it so that I can do that across the board. Yeah, that is definitely a goal.
Okay.
Yeah, and I would just again echo and reiterate what it is. There's a lot of times I think where departments say, "Oh, geez, we need to do this," but they put it on the back burner because there are other things that they prioritize. But a lot of the time there's turnover with councils. People sometimes don't like us and vote us out and put in new people, and they may not be up to speed or understand that we're not asking for 3 new trucks because we neglected it. It's because we had to reprioritize and get other things, and this was supposed to be done, but we're coming now, and we got a couple more years out of whatever we were supposed to. I think that just makes it easier for, a revolving door of electeds that come in.
And then just to reiterate, for next year, we need to see where we're going to be at, and if we need help somehow, let's broadcast that early in the summer or whenever else so we can be ready for it.
Most definitely.
Anything else? Anything else?
Nope. You get the calls tonight.
Thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Just give myself.
Thanks.